What's up, guys? Gonna try this video thing for the first time. I know that before we started doing this quarantine, that we were talking a little bit about the Iran hostage situation, and I don't think we really ever covered the majority of the administration of Jimmy Carter. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that and what he had done leading into the the Iran hostage crisis. So I'm going to try this video for the first time. Hopefully, it goes well. Give me your thoughts and feedback when we're done. If you guys remember, Jimmy Carter was a peanut farmer before he got into politics. He was from Georgia. He was a Sunday school teacher. He was heavily influenced by the Bible. He was not a guy that was in Washington during these crazy times. He was the governor of Georgia. And that's what was the most attractive thing to people. That's how he won. He was an outsider. He was somebody that was not tied in with Johnson in Vietnam. He was not a guy that was tied in with Ellsberg in the leaks for the Pentagon Papers. He wasn't a guy that had anything to do or was within 100 miles of Nixon and his whole Watergate scandal. So Carter did seem like the right choice for the American people moving forward. Now, as mentioned before, Jimmy Carter was a guy that took the Bible very seriously. He believed that the United States was founded on Christian fundamental values revolving around the treatment of individuals and the family. And he wanted to keep those fundamentals alive when dealing with his foreign policy, with dealing with other countries. He said, "We will not act different abroad than we do at home. We will not prop up foreign governments that treat citizens poorly just because they are part of our anti-communism movement." He was not for that. He didn't think that it was right for the United States, which we had been doing for decades, to, like I said before, prop up regimes in South America and simply because they were in our best interest, even though they were treating people poorly. He said, "We know that democracy works, and we can now reject arguments from the other side who are denying people human rights." Pretty big moment for Jimmy Carter because he came out and kind of addressed the United States as the president and never mentioned the word containment and really never mentioned the word communism. It was about the treatment of people and not about some political agenda. So we're going to continue on with a little bit of the highlight reel of Jimmy Carter's presidency. I don't want you guys to think that Jimmy Carter was this guy who did everything perfectly, because quite honestly, he didn't. He was a one-term president. He had highlights and he had lowlights. He inherited a lot of stuff that other presidents had made decisions on that made it very difficult for him. We'll talk about that in a little bit. But he wanted to change the idea that the United States had been criticized for a long time of not helping build up the third world countries, first world being countries that supported democracy and capitalism, and the second world being the ones that supported communism in the Soviet Union. As did Nixon. We're going to see Carter's attempts to continue the idea of détente, or the easing of tensions between the Soviet Union in the United States. We will see the signing of SALT II in 1979 in Vienna. That's the Strategic Arms Limitation Treaty, reducing the amounts of nuclear weapons being developed and being stored in both the Soviet Union and the United States. Now, probably the biggest thing that Carter did that no other president really has ever been able to do was he was able to have a peace treaty signed between an Arab state and the state of Israel. There had been a lot of tension between the state of Israel from 1948 in its beginning and the Muslim world, and it's because the influx of the Jewish people to Israel after World War II was enormous. And when they showed up in Israel, there was lots of people that had been living there for a very long time, specifically people called the Palestinians. And obviously, they're not going to respond well to Israel becoming a state and taking over resources and taking over land, and things like that. Now, the United States immediately recognized the state of Israel as being an independent country, which is going to create interesting relations with Middle Eastern states, the United States as well. But what Jimmy Carter is able to do is able to take Egypt, okay, and their president Anwar Sadat. He's able to take Prime Minister Begin of Israel after they had just fought a war. Egypt really only believed that they were able to do so because of the United States helping. He's able to bring them to the bargaining table. He's able to fly them out to Camp David in Maryland, which is kind of the vacation getaway for the president. It's only designed to last for 3 days, these peace talks are. And Sadat and Begin, they grind it out, and they argue, and they talk, and at one point in time, they pack their bags and they were going to leave. But they're able to stay for nearly 2 weeks, actually, and actually hammer out some sort of treaty. The treaty is signed by both of these men, but it's not the everlasting peace that people might think it would be, that says nothing about what to do with the areas of Israel known as the West Bank and the Gaza Strip, which are probably the two most heated areas in the region. They did give Egypt the Sinai Peninsula back. The Sinai Peninsula, guys, is the area at which the Suez Canal runs through. And in return for that, the Egyptians swore to recognize Israel as a legitimate state. Now, was this the perfect peace treaty between Egypt and Israel? No, but it was more than any president had ever done in the region prior to this. And to be completely honest, it's really probably the biggest achievement from any president in this region as well. So another highlight for Jimmy Carter. So guys, that's the video. Hopefully you liked it. Please let me know in the comments if there's anything that we could do better or anything that you want to hear about. That's kind of the highlight reel of the Carter administration. We are going to later on talk about the downfall of Carter and why he was only able to win one term. I know I said a lot of positive things today, but we're going to go into some not so positive things in the future. So like I said, let me know how much you guys liked the video in the comment. Anything to do different, let me know. I'm going to send out some questions, about 10 or 20 questions or so that go along with this video so you can answer them. So thanks, and stay safe out there.